The next page sounds rather daunting, doesn't it? In fact, when I wrote that on my computer screen while drafting this talk, for a while I kept staring at the screen, wondering, really, what next? In my world, that is the world of food and nutrition, what's next could be anyone's guess. Trends are always changing, and people are more eager than ever to try out new flavors, eat healthier, indulge in exotic cuisines, and experiment with their palates. Even after being in the food industry for so many years now, I couldn't have predicted the changes that I'd be seeing today. I mean, a fancy fusion restaurant could serve you a lentil risotto for rupees 450 or even more sometimes, only to eventually give you a rude shock when you see what you've been served is actually dal khichdi. The only difference is, though, when I make dal khichdi at home, I don't spend 15 minutes taking a picture of it to put on Instagram. But that's part of the change as well. Not only has the food on our plates changed, but so has the way in which we consume it. Food is now consumed twice, first by us and then by our followers. In fact, today, the saying, "You are what you eat," is truer than ever. But have we begun overthinking and overplanning our food and our lives? Are we putting too much time into fine-tuning the details and forgetting the bigger picture? But if there's one thing I've learned from my food journey and my life story, it's to let your gut do the deciding and lead the way as you make it from one chapter of your life to the next. In fact, stories are actually a continuum of people's next pages as they unfold along the dimension of time. So now, I'm going to spend the next few minutes dwelling on a few pages from my story. I might be able to offer some insights or lessons, perhaps more in the realm of what not to do. I'm reminded here of the speech that Steve Jobs gave at Stanford University. Perhaps you're all familiar with it, and I quote, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards." It is keeping this sentiment in mind that I talk to you today. I was born in Jamshedpur, where my father served as a senior engineer with Tisco. Unmindful of the then prevalent push of the government, he proceeded to cajole my mother into having a third child, despite having two sons already. Again, unmindful of the prevalent social norms of the time, he actually wanted the third child in the hope of having a girl. I obliged. Unfortunately, by the time I learned to say Papa, he passed away. While he physically left us, he did leave behind a legacy of independence. Soon after their marriage, he had encouraged my mother to continue her education and get her master's in economics. This, in no small measure, helped her to continue at Tisco, working to support her 3 young children. Contemplate for a moment an alternative history as it may have played out had my father not insisted on her further education, and my mother had not been as feisty and confident as she was. Lesson 1. The ability to write the best possible next page of your life is the product of this need to stay relevant. The better part of my growing up years was spent in a small town, Dhanbad. Steeped in the conservative values of smaller communities, I engaged in all those activities that most girls growing up in this environment do. I learned classical dancing, cooking, and of course, skipping rope. My birthday parties were the talk of the little town, to say the least. Every year, my mum indulged me with the best birthday party, with the icing on the cake being the cake itself. Now, apparently, my dad, besides making my mom study more, had also ensured that she learned some truly gourmet cooking. Even though there was no internet to lure one with varieties of food and no such trend of Instagramming of the same at that time, my dad was progressive enough to believe that food should always be well presented and elegantly cooked. Veggies and fruit should be cut uniformly. Desserts should go beyond what his mother could make for him. These stories I would hear every day while sitting on a stool in the kitchen watching my mother cook. And that is how I learned to cook. When I cooked my first meal with utmost detailing at age 8 to impress my mother, I had no premonition that food would go on to be the prime focus of my career. One of our neighbors was a Bharatanatyam dance teacher. My mom used to send me to her house when she would get late coming back from work. Watching her dance, I started pursuing the art. Moving on to dancing long hours, often late into the night, to win an All India Bharatanatyam competition. Little did I know then that the tentative steps that I took on the little dance stage with that tiny audience would unfold into larger strides on platforms such as this. Lesson 2. Life is full of surprises, as that young family in Jamshedpur found out when its breadwinner passed on. All that we can do is to do all that we are doing with complete commitment. After I completed my 10th standard from Mount Carmel Digwadi, acquitting myself rather well by securing 86%, guys, in those days, quite a bit. I toiled in large measure because of a guilt trip that my mother had induced by her constant lamentations. If you don't do well, I'll feel like I failed as a mother, I'm a single mother, and on and on and on she went. I would roll my eyes, but I did not let her down. She was ecstatic to see my results. Laddus were distributed in the entire colony. Yes, in a small town, the entire colony gravitates together at each small and large occurrence in any member's life, especially when any form of food, or must I say dessert, is involved. Lesson 3. No matter how small a town you belong to, value it, along with the relationships and advice of all those people who were a part of your growing up, because they will shape who you grow up to become. Enthused by my little glory at my ICSE exams, my brothers, who by then had taken upon themselves the mantle of paternal responsibility, decided that I needed a bit more by way of toughening up. After many roundtable conferences between them and my mom, it was decided that I be enrolled in a boarding school. So I went to St. Lawrence School, Sanaa. And thus a small town girl got exposed to independence, nature's beauty, myriad subjects, cultures, amazing teachers, friends, and that other gender, boys. I mean, mind you, it's a big deal for a convent-bred girl. All right, so Sanaa unleashed my potential. I went all out and participated in every activity that I could remotely perform, including basketball, and everybody who knows me knows that I have 2 left feet when it comes to any sport. There were some activities, however, which were a little bit more up my alley. Dance, debates, elocution, and of course, cooking. My cooking skills endeared me immensely to my home science teacher, who put me in charge of a fledgling cafeteria that our home science batch had initiated. Soon it became the spot to hang out, and I took immense pride in serving some of the yummiest burgers, sandwiches, milkshakes, etc. to the forever hungry children of Sanaa. And on a completely different note, we need to do something about your canteen, guys. I mean, I ate there last evening. You have samosas and dhoklas every day? Like every day? Okay, sorry. Coming back to my story. While home was where food was my source of comfort, warmth, and belonging, it was boarding school that gave me the self-confidence to call myself a budding chef and foray into the first food adventures that I was to encounter in my future career as a chef. Looking back on it all now, I can't believe I didn't see a path chalked out in front of me. But at that time, there was no concept of charting your own next page. You were presented with a finite number of choices and you had to pick one. That's all. I would, in hindsight, have saved myself a boatload of energy if I had done then what I'm doing today. Lesson 4 and 5. Be mindful of your talent, your disposition, your inclination. Don't go by the trend. Follow your heart, and maybe, just maybe, what your heart desires goes on to become the next trend. However, if for some reason you do take on a different route, that's okay too. Life is to be savored even if it means taking some diversions. And you will see how the following chapter of my life in its own way equipped me to better do what I am currently doing. What followed next was my brush with acting. In keeping with the script that ran through my life of happy interventions of luck and chance, I arrived at the big, bad city of Mumbai. I enrolled at the prestigious St. Xavier's College. It is here that despite having absolutely no glammed up dreams, I got spotted. And the next thing I knew was that I was signed on as the face of Pond's Cream. I promise you, I did not even have a portfolio then. I mean, can you imagine something like that happening today? You just need to open TikTok once to see all that the aspiring models are up to get their first break. Following that first assignment, I started modeling for various projects, and then there was another roundtable conference at home. This time I was a part of it. If you think you can model your way into the glitzy world of Bollywood, it is not happening. Please put a rein to those thoughts. I was informed by the Saluja gang. I protested superficially, as every young girl who does on being told to do something, but my gut was in agreement with what they were saying. There was this unshakable feeling that I had that perhaps my full potential could be realized elsewhere. I learned soon enough that I anyway wasn't cut out for the dancey, romancy kind of roles that you generally see on screen. Every time I had to hug my co-star, my hands would go around his neck in an unpassionate slow motion, and my butt would pop out, you know, making the whole crew erupt into peals of laughter. So yeah, that was completely out. But once I recognized my limitations in terms of the extent to which I could push myself in this domain, I strategically started going for those auditions that call for the role of a mother. Now, for a young actress at that time, it was akin to career suicide. And so many people would laugh at me and call me mummy when I was only 19, when I knew instinctually that I was better suited to these roles. And once again, my gut served me right, as I hit jackpot and was signed on as the brand ambassador for Whirlpool Home Appliances. I soon became the quintessential mommy of the Indian advertising world, beaming away with the make-believe family, posing lovingly with them, but at a safe distance. Guys, old habits die hard, and small-town values never leave you. Lesson 6, don't do what you're not comfortable in doing. Let the world laugh at you. Soon they will be laughing at themselves for not having recognized the budding star in you. Speaking of films and the power of mummy, I mean Ma, it was around this time that the rest of the nation was caught in the epic showdown between Rahul and Yash Raichand from Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham. I mentioned to you that I had FOMO too, right? So I decided to go one step further and marry a Raichand myself. No one could believe it. Independent, strong-willed, resolute Amrita agreed for an arranged marriage. But something inside me told me that this was the right path for me and this was the right guy for me. So I went for it. I was afraid, however, that my hectic schedule and crazy hours would be hard to balance at home. But the support I received from Rahul and my in-laws absolutely made this transition as easy as, you know, a fish takes to water. Yes, there were a few hiccups, however. For example, my husband and I had completely different tastes when it came to salt. I mean, he could not even tell if a dish had too little salt or too much of it. And so every time a recipe said, namak swad anusar, I would wonder, kiske swad anusar, you know. But with every meal I made for him, my husband, who began as a clueless foodie and couldn't tell the difference between moong dal and tur dal, today is my partner in crime, my best food critic, and can even tell the difference between mousse and a souffle. Not bad, huh? So lesson 7, arranged marriages can be wonderful too. As joyful as I was about the progress that I had made in my marriage, I had no idea the challenge I was about to be sent by God. My son, Agastya, arrived, looking like an angel, but with the tastes and the tantrums of a devil. I don't think a lot of you are parents, but let me tell you, an upset toddler can fling the food you've made surprisingly far. And certainly, I was not going to take that lying down. So I hitched up my hair, I put my mind to work, and set about making food that would be both nutritious and tasty for him. Okay, I'll admit I used some tricks here and there, but hey, all's fair in love and war, and this was definitely war. The effort I put into adapting my healthy recipes to suit his tastes soon became my hobby and then my passion. I started waking up at 5 a.m., meditating first, knowing very well that these were the only 20 minutes I'm going to get. I then would sit down and research and look for new creative ways to sneak in nutrients into Agastya's food and keep adding these new experiments to my repertoire. Lesson 8. They say necessity is the mother of invention, but when it comes to recipes, a tantrum is the mother of innovation. On one such day of experimentation, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor was visiting our home. Witnessing me in this mommy chef avatar, he suggested that I spread this newly acquired skill to a wider audience. If my life had one eureka moment, it would be this. I'd always known that my food played a central role in my identity, but hearing someone else tell me that my food was good enough to be shared with people gave me the confidence and the reassurance to realize that this is what my career was meant to be. Thus began Mummy Ka Magic, and two completely different dimensions of my life, acting and cooking, came together to perfectly complement each other, and the rest, as they say, is history. Lesson 9. Always tell stories, even if they are sob stories to your guests, friends, or family. You may just land the biggest break of your life. I found a love for food at a very young age and kept finding my way back to it over the course of my life. But only now, at age 43, and mind you, not too many people are going to reveal their age here, is when I finally have a plan. I have decided to launch my own line of easy-to-grab food for children and have a team of 6 people working with me towards this endeavor. I have been attempting to create packaged junk food-looking jewels for kids and adults, and I hope to make them widely available. Now, through this course of my journey as a chef and mom, one thing I realize is that children love things coming out of a packet. So if that's the only way to do it, I decided that that will be the way to do it, just with goodness packed in them without any added sugar or preservatives. Will my mission be complete and successful? I don't know. But I do know this. Food, much like life, at the core of it, is a personal experience that becomes all the more wonderful when it's shared. If there's anything my life has taught me, it's that my best food choices and life choices have been taken by my gut. So to all those who spend too much time overthinking whether a certain Instagram filter is making their sandwich pop or not, post that damn picture already, while the moment, the memory, and the sandwich is still fresh. And now for lesson 10, the last one. Could be construed as slightly controversial, I want, and so TEDx committee, please forgive me. Forget the damn next page. Live your present page well and go at it with all that you have. Just focus, commit to it, and the next page will unfailingly be an exciting one. And trust me, your gut will take care of the rest. Thank you.